Jason.
Yeah, they're gonna get Jason's fighting for elbow room. Fighting for elbow room.
Well, good evening, all. I'd like to call to order the 1st District Cook County Board District Committee. The purpose of this meeting is to fill the vacancy created when Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson resigned the office to become the mayor of the city of Chicago. That's worth a round of applause. Is that better? Okay. Very good. My name is Don Harmon, and I will serve as the convener of this meeting, along with Clerk Karen Yarbrough, by order of the Cook County Democratic Party. We will organize the committee here. As described by Illinois statute and Cook County ordinance, this committee is comprised of the elected party officials in this district who share the same political party as the last member to hold the district's county board seat. Each committee person holds a weighted vote, which for purposes of the appointment are calculated by the number of votes Mayor Johnson received in the November 2022 election in each ward and township that make up the 1st County Board District. Committee members elected to represent Chicago wards are based on the ward maps drawn previously to this redistricting cycle, as those party members have not faced election under the newly drawn ward maps. And those weighted votes are based on the old wards that were in existence when Mayor Johnson was last elected commissioner. We have provided notice to all of the committee members who are here. I'll introduce them in a moment. All members are present in person or by proxy. Finally, all registered voters residing in the district were eligible to submit an application via email at firstdistrictvacancy@gmail.com. Applications were taken from May 17th, 2023 to May 31st, 2023. 19 applications were reviewed and narrowed to the 6 finalists with us tonight based on the quality and veracity of the application, record of service to the community, and support from members of the committee. The members of the committee are as follows. Committee person and Alderman Daniel Espada of the 1st Ward, Committee person Tim Egan of the 2nd Ward, Committee person Angie Gonzalez Rodriguez of the 26th Ward, Committee person and Alderman Walter Burnett of the 27th Ward, Committee person and Alderman Jason Irvin of the 28th Ward, Committee person and Alderman Chris Taliaferro of the 29th Ward, Committee person and Alderman Scott Wagasbach of the 32nd Ward, Committee person and Alderman Emma Mitz of the 37th Ward, myself, Don Harmon from Oak Park Township, and Committee person and Clerk Karen Yarbrough of Proviso Township. All members are present in person with the exception of Angie Gonzalez Rodriguez and Daniel Espada. I have proxies from both. So for the purposes of the meeting, the roll has been called and answered. We now need to organize and elect our officers. Clerk Yarbrough, have you a motion?
I do. I move that Don Harmon be chair of this committee, having the highest weighted vote in this particular contest.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and I will serve as the chair of this committee meeting. Alderman Mitz, do you have a nomination for vice chair?
Yes, I nominate Karen Yarbrough for
vice chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and Clerk Yarborough is elected vice chair of the committee. Clerk Yarborough, do you have a motion on the nomination of the secretary?
I do. I move that Alderman Mitt serve as our secretary.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and Alderman Mitz is elected the secretary of the committee for the proceedings tonight. So with that, we have a full complement of officers. Proposed rules have been distributed to all of the members. They are very brief and, in summary, provide for basic organization for the committee tonight to interview candidates, take nominations, and vote on a finalist. Is there a motion to adopt the rules?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the rules are adopted. I'll take a brief break from the script here tonight just to describe the process. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we had 19 applications, all from good and well-qualified, well-meaning applicants from across the district. We invited 6 to attend this meeting tonight to be interviewed as finalists, again, based on the quality of the applicants and the support from members of the committee. We will begin to bring those members in one by one, give them a few minutes to introduce themselves and present their credentials, and then take questions from the committee. After that is concluded, we'll take motions to place names in nomination for the appointment, and then we'll adjourn, recess briefly to debate the outcome. So is there leave to adopt the process just outlined? Seeing no objection, leave is granted. We can begin with the interviews of the potential candidates unless there are any introductory remarks or questions from members of the committee. All right, why don't we bring in, I believe we have set up an interview schedule alphabetically, as unfair as that might be. So we'll begin with Ira Ackrey as our first candidate. Pastor Ackrey, the Carlton Hotel will be very grateful that you brought your fan club with you. I hope they patronize the restaurant and bar. So, Pastor Ackrey, we have a few minutes to introduce yourself and present your credentials. We'd like to keep it to 3 to 5 minutes and then make time for committee members to ask questions of you.
All right, thank you so much, Senator Harmon, and to this esteemed committee. Let me start by saying I was taught early in life that when the door opens, that you can't be found getting ready. You got to be ready to walk in. A door is open here in the 1st District for Commissioner, and I submit to this committee that I am ready for the task. I'm Ira Ackrey, and I deeply appreciate this opportunity today, seeking the appointment to be our next commissioner. And if I am fortunate enough to serve as your commissioner, know this, that we will build on the current progress. We will improve on combating gun violence by investing in the fearless organizations who are on the front line fighting every day. And I know who they are. I know who they are. I will also use my county-wide reach to better address domestic violence and sexual assault. We've got to protect our women. I will fight for the much-needed increased funding for mental health. I will also be an advocate for strengthening our small businesses. Look, it's a fact that thriving small businesses are economic engines that create jobs, that stimulate economic growth in communities. Communities that have been ravaged by mass incarceration and economic disinvestment, they will be a budget priority in my administration. Listen, I've given my life to public service as a pastor and as a civil rights advocate. I'm not new to it, I'm true to it. I've lived on Chicago's west side and in the western suburbs. I am the one who can unify this district. We have an advocate on the 5th floor for us who came from the 1st District. The last thing we need at a time like this is someone who would pit one part of our community against the other. I am a bridge builder. I'm a bridge builder. I believe in building bridges and not walls. I have the relationships and the innovativeness to bring in new ideas that will benefit this district on day one. I'm a part of the Leaders Network, and we just recently forged a partnership with a $1 billion credit union to bring financial services to the west side and the western suburbs. Leaders Network Financial. I humbly offer wisdom, I humbly offer my wisdom and my wealth of experiences to this committee and every resident of the district. I am ready, willing, and able to serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pastor Acri. Right, 2 minutes and 55 seconds, right under the 3-minute mark. Well done. So I did neglect a little bit of housekeeping. I'll come back to some of that between candidates, but if you could please silence all of your audible devices, we would appreciate that very much. So questions from the committee? Clerk Yarborough.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I plan to ask each of the candidates the same questions, and Reverend Acri, welcome.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to know, do you have the support of your committeemen? What ward do you live in?
I live, my
37?
alderman is right there.
37?
37 Ward. Alderman Emma Midge.
And you have the support of your committeemen?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I need to know. That's it for me.
But I also have another supporter. Is that okay? Okay. Okay.
You only have one committee.
All right.
Pastor Acri.
Yes, ma'am.
One question. On Friday, you were before the Cook County Democratic Party seeking for the appointment for a water rec. Which one of the seats are you really interested in if you had a choice now?
My choice is to be the commissioner of this district because you get a chance to advocate for taxes. You can talk about public health safety, public health services, and you can have a bigger platform to challenge the status quo and also to be an advocate for people. When
This is the position that you really want seeking
Yes.
nomination for.
Yes. I ran for both of those. I submitted my name because I am ready to serve. I have 30 years of being an advocate for our people. At a time like this, people need somebody who they can trust. I could have ran for either one of these offices many years ago, but timing is everything. Now is the time, Alderman Mitch, and I'm ready to serve.
Thank you.
Thank you. How you doing, Pastor?
Alderman, how are you?
I'm blessed, thank God. As you know, you will have to run for this seat pretty soon if you were appointed. I think it's like 27 months, if I'm not mistaken. And the county-wide district is pretty large. It's probably close to 3 wards almost. And so it costs a substantial amount of money to run. Do you think that you'd be able to raise, how much do you think you'd be able to raise to run if you had the opportunity to run in 28 months? And I wanted to know, if you were not appointed, would you support the person, would you run against the person who is appointed, or would you not run?
Okay, that's 3 questions. Okay, the first question is how much do I think it would cost? I think I come in knowing that if I can't raise multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars, then I don't have a good opportunity of holding on to the seat. So whether that's $200,000 to $500,000, that's what I believe. Secondly, I personally hope to leave here with your endorsement, with your appointment, and your support. I'm not out here on my own. I have faith leaders, I have union leaders who have asked me to submit my name. So I can't really make a decision whether I would not run or not. I would take a little time and talk with my supporters and see if what they would want me to do, because I'm not out here on my own anyhow.
Alderman Taliaferro.
Thank you, Pastor Ackery, for presenting yourself. And this, too, is a question I'm going to ask of each candidate. What do you think the two most pressing issues are that the county's facing? And if you could very briefly describe how you would handle those two issues.
Yeah, we have a myriad of issues. Number one, as you know, public safety is number one in some people's mind, and then others, mental health is the issue. Taxes is an issue for some. So I think within those three, if you took a poll, that would be number one in the majority of the people that are present and those who are watching online. Personally, as it relates to violence, I think I would have an extra passion for that. I've been an anti-gun violence activist for a number of years. Me and my coalition of faith leaders, we were very instrumental in bringing the ban on assault weapons to the state of Illinois. And so, even though that's being fought with lawsuits, that would be very important to me. And I think one of the things I would do, I appreciate there have been some investments in some great organizations that are on the front line fighting to stem the tide of violence. But I believe with my feet on the ground, a minister who has been a community organizer and who knows the people, I think I have the wisdom to know how to put some resources behind some organizations who are making a difference with low budgets. I think certainly there are some organizations who are doing good work, selflessly and sacrificing, but they're just not getting the support that some of the organizations are getting.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you, Pastor. Alderman Wagasback. Dovetailing on that question from Alderman Taliaferro, what would you do as a commissioner on the issue of sexual assault and violence against women more specifically?
Well, number one, I'd like to talk with all the women groups and see what they're doing already and build upon it. Part of our organization, we have, the Leaders Network, we have a faith-based led group with other institutions. But one of the things we have done was take advantage of this crowd that rabbis and pastors and imams have on the weekend. And we've had Sunday and Saturdays of sermons on sexual assault. I think just highlighting that is a step in the right direction, and then using that platform to give people resources and to direct them to wraparound services that relate to those causes.
Alderman Irvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One quick question. Given the nature of the district partially being in the city, partially being in the suburbs, how would you intend to balance the needs of residents of Chicago versus the needs of the municipalities in the western suburbs?
I really thank you for that question, because I personally believe that is my strength. There are some talented people. Whoever you make tonight is a good choice, because there are some real strong, integritous people who submitted their names. I give you guys credit for choosing these 6 people. Where I'm strong at is I'm a bridge builder. I lived in Oak Park. My kids went to Oak Park River Forest High School. I live on the west side. I pastor in the hood. I live in the hood. And I also have faith leaders in my organization that go from the west side to Maywood to Bellwood to Broadview. In fact, we have at the tip of one email, we can access more than 300 faith leaders all across the county. So that's my strength, Alderman Irvin. I'm a bridge builder, and all you got to do is on the second Tuesday of the month, meet us at 5701 West Jackson, and you will see that, no offense to one of my political mentors, Reverend Jesse Jackson, But come there on the second Tuesday, and you will see where there is a real rainbow coalition.
Any other questions from the committee? Pastor Ackery, thank you very much for being here with us this evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you, supporters.
Before we invite our next applicant in, I neglected to elaborate on a couple of things, primarily for the benefit of the audience, but I want to make sure we put on the public record. There were 71,077 votes cast in the election that elected Brandon Johnson to the county board the last time. Those are the weighted votes. They are apportioned across the wards and townships, and each committee person cast the votes that were cast in his or her ward or township. Half of that number, 35,540 plus one, is required to make the appointment to fill the vacancy. We will post the weighted votes by the committee persons for public review. Also, just a clarification, the appointment that we could make tonight is effective immediately, and that person would serve through December of 2024 when the new county board is seated. That person, however, would have to run for re-election in the primary in March of 2024 if he or she wanted to keep the seat. So this appointment does not last quite as long as it might otherwise, but there will be a special election in 2024 for the last 2 years of the term. And I did not read the list of the 6 finalists. In addition to Pastor Ira Ackery of Chicago, we have Mayor Rory Hoskins of Forest Park, who we'll hear from next, Tommy Johnson of Chicago, Zerlina Smith Members of Chicago, Tara Stamps of Chicago, and Claiborne Wade of Forest Park. So with that on the record, we can invite Mayor Hoskins in as our next applicant. Mayor, welcome to the committee. We would invite you to make an opening statement, 3 to 5 minutes, to present yourself and your credentials to the committee, and then we'll take questions from the committee members.
Thank you, Committee Person Harmon, and thank you to the board that comprises the committee persons of the 1st District of Cook County. My name is Rory Hoskins. I serve as mayor in the village of Forest Park. I've held that position since 2019. I was recently re-elected. Prior to my service as mayor in Forest Park, I served as a village commissioner in Forest Park from 2007 to 2015. So after serving 2 consecutive terms, I chose not to run for a 3rd term. While I was a commissioner, I went to school. I went to law school. And so after graduating law school, I wanted to focus on practicing law. So I didn't want to be a career village commissioner in Forest Park. But in the intervening time, some things happened, and I decided to seek the mayor's office in 2019. My family and I have resided in Forest Park since 1999. Before I moved to Forest Park, I actually lived in the city of Chicago. I lived in the 1st ward. I lived and worked in the city of Chicago. My resume that I submitted to the board only goes back to 2000, so I wanted to supplement that just a little bit. I began my career in Illinois as a social worker. I worked at Association House of Chicago, kind of in the Humboldt Park area. I got a master's in social work. My resume reflects that. I worked primarily in foster care. Later, I worked in Head Start for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Chicago. So I worked at the Martin Luther King Boys and Girls Club at the corner of Washington and Sacramento. And later, I worked at the Austin YMCA at Central and Lake. I'm running for this seat for a number of reasons, or seeking the appointment, rather. When I ran for re-election in 2023 to my position as mayor, it was not with thoughts of another position. But shortly after Mayor Johnson's election, the same night as my re-election, I got several calls from people who I care about in government. And when I kept getting the calls, I thought about that seat, and I thought about the way that Cook County Board seat works with the Proviso mayors and the needs of Proviso Township and the villages. As you all know, Cook County is mostly suburban. And while the city of Chicago gets lots of attention, And while big communities like Oak Park receive funds directly from the federal government in many cases, smaller suburbs like Forest Park, like Broadview, like Westchester, do not get those funds directly. And so I felt like in the absence of any other suburban mayors, to my knowledge, seeking the appointment, I decided to explore the appointment. And so I've told you a little bit about my professional background and a little bit about my motivations for running this seat. And with that, I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to begin with a question that is unique to you in your situation, and it's something we've talked about before. In the not-too-distant past, there have been folks who have served in 2 offices simultaneously, particularly on the Cook County Board, serving as mayors. I think that practice is falling out of favor. You and I have discussed that. If you were appointed to fill the vacancy by this committee, would you agree to step down as mayor, at least after the primary election, when you know whether or not you would be advancing forward as the nominee of the Democratic Party for a full term?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Questions? Clerk Yarborough.
Well, since I'm your committeeman, and I've already committed to you, I won't ask you that question. But somebody asked a question of another candidate, and I want to ask you this question as well, because I've been asked the question as a person who represented both the city of Chicago, Oak Park, and Proviso Township, and that question was just simply, how are you going to balance these interests? I know what my answer was, and I, of course, served 12 years there, and some people say I did a decent job. So I'd like to know how. So my question, how will you balance the interests of the city, Oak Park, and Proviso Township?
Well, I will leave it to the mayor of Oak Park to manage Oak Park's affairs, Committeeman. That was a joke. I know what you're saying. We have a very able-bodied staff in Forest Park. It's essentially a part-time mayor's position. Having served for a little over 4 years. Having served a little over 4 years in that role, I don't necessarily have to be the most hands-on. During the pandemic, there were certainly a lot more challenges to governing a town like Forest Park. A lot of the uncertainties coming along with closures and with the way people reacted to the pandemic and some of the new regulations. But we've gotten over those humps. Forest Park, I'm not going to say it runs itself, but it's in a very good position in terms of its geography, in terms of its business climate, in terms of staffing. And so if it was necessary to temporarily balance those interests, I think that's very much possible. I would certainly rely on the president's office for some advice on transitioning into the role of a Cook County commissioner. I've been fortunate to have lots of mentors in my time in government, as well as my time outside of government. So I think it would be possible to balance those interests, at least in the transition period, Committeeman.
Alderman Irvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the question was more geared toward balancing the interest of the suburban interests of the district versus the interests of the city in the district. And I understand your need to balance the interests of your role as mayor of the village of Forest Park versus your role potentially as the commissioner. But I think what we're looking for is how do you balance those interests between the suburban concerns and the concerns of the residents of the city of Chicago?
So thank you for clarifying that, Committeeman Irvin. They're very distinct communities. The suburbs is not the west side, but I'm not a stranger to going into the west side and talking to constituents about the needs there, whether it's you, whether it's community persons in your ward. I mentioned earlier that I've lived in Chicago. I've worked on the west side. Having the ability to assess the needs, there certainly would be a period for that. But If I'm appointed, I'll look forward to working closely with you and the other committeemen who serve in the city to see how I can best be helpful.
Alderman Taliaferro?
Thank you, Chairman. And Mayor, thank you for presenting yourself today before the committee. I'm asking this question of each candidate. What are two important issues that you believe that the county is facing today? And if you could briefly describe how you would go about facing these issues or addressing these issues.
Sure. Economic development is a huge issue for the county, and I think serving an increasing homeless population is also a very important issue for the county. As my resume indicates, I have a significant amount of experience in economic development. And some of the work that I've been doing in Forest Park, I believe, can complement the needs of the greater First District. For one example, in the last 6 months, I've been working to position Forest Park to join what's known as the West Regional Enterprise Zone. An enterprise zone is a geographic district that has built-in tax incentives and other incentives to encourage private development. So here we are in a situation 2 years after the passage of the bipartisan infrastructure law, where Illinois and Cook County is poised to receive significant amounts of dollars to improve our public infrastructure. I believe with adding other communities in Proviso Township itself into the enterprise zone. Right now, it only consists of Maywood, Broadview, Bellwood, and Melrose Park. Forest Park could join the enterprise zone. Westchester could join. Hillside could join. I would like to see us attract investment into the west suburbs to create job opportunities for First District residents, whether they live in the west suburbs or whether they live in the city. We already know that lots of Chicago residents work and play in the west suburbs. I want to create more opportunities for employment positions, for job training, for transition into some of the newer economy, using sustainability measures, training centers. We have lots of vacant land in the suburbs where we could see projects that employ men and women who live in all parts of the First District. The Eisenhower runs along much of the First District. There's going to be significant development there. There's a group that I've been working with to some extent called the Rebuild the 290 Coalition. So leveraging the opportunities with the enterprise zone, leveraging the expected construction projects that we expect to occur, and not just the highway itself, but around the highway. Other opportunities to create small businesses. The county has created an equity fund where they want to work on building capacity, particularly in black and brown communities. I'd like to leverage some of that work that's already been started. And some of the work I'm already doing in the west suburbs, working with my peers who are other mayors. In terms of homelessness, in my community of Forest Park, we've found homeless encampments along the Eisenhower. Many of these men and women who are unhoused, they ride the CTA. And so I believe the First District Commissioner can be a powerful voice for advocating for more services along that CTA corridor, whether it's the Green Line or the Blue Line, to help address some of these homeless issues and economic development. And of course, that lends itself to healthcare and other issues, but you asked me to talk about two.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor. Congratulations on your reelection and for your stellar reputation as a mayor.
Thank you, committee person.
So I'm asking all the candidates this. So it's about, I don't know, what is it, 200,000-300,000 people in the county. That's about 4 or 5 wards in the city of Chicago. How much do you think it would take to run, and how much can you raise coming off of a campaign where you just spent a lot of money? And then also, if you were not chosen, would you support the person who is chosen, or would you still run?
If I'm not chosen, I expect to support the person who is chosen. I expect it will take at least $250,000, probably more. And to answer the question, can I raise it? Yes. I've had funding commitments since I have indicated an interest in seeking this seat. And I believe I'd be able to raise adequate resources, Alderman.
Yes, Mayor, County Care is the largest Medicaid managed care payer in Illinois. It's a profit center for the county. As a commissioner, would you advocate to use some of those profits to expand behavioral health coverage and open more behavioral health centers in the county?
Yes, I would.
Mayor, thank you very much for being here with us tonight. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Committee Person.
Our next applicant is Tommy Johnson. Mr. Johnson, welcome to the committee. If you can have a seat at the table here. We'd ask you to settle in and open up with a 3 to 5 minute presentation and then be available for questions. So, Mr. Johnson, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. To the committeemen on the dais that didn't get a phone call or a visit from me, it's because I didn't have your contact information. For those of you that did, thank you for taking my calls. I appreciate that. My name's Tommy Johnson. I'm from the West Side. My family moved into the Austin community in 1970. I started out over there working in the community, worked in a business over there, and I ended up, from that start, I worked in a business. But then I went to Robert Emmett School. I went to I went to Austin High School and graduated from there. And then I became a motor truck driver for the city of Chicago. Now, again, I'm telling you, I came from Austin. And I started as a truck driver, and I worked in the community, bringing services to the residents of the community. And I've actually worked till today. I'm the number 3 manager in the 3rd largest department in the 3rd largest city in the country, managing over 2,200 employees and a budget of nearly $2.7 billion. I manage contracts. I bring services to the residents of the city of Chicago, the highest quality of service, and I take pride in that. From the time I was a young man all the way up, I worked from a truck driver up to the managing deputy commissioner, and that's with a commitment and a focus on delivering services to the community. If you live in the city of Chicago, you've definitely been impacted by the services that we provide because we do it every day of the week. Street sweeping, garbage pickup, snow removal, all of those different things. I now manage that coming from Austin. I'm from this community. I raised up here, and now I have a massive responsibility. And I look forward to the opportunity to take that knowledge and experience to the 1st District seat so that I could bring that information and try to deliver the same quality of services to the residents of the 1st District. I know that service is the key no matter what. It all begins and ends with service. Being able to talk about or deliver public health needs, public safety needs, These are things that I look forward to having the opportunity with my drive and my experience to deliver to the residents of the first congressional, of the first district. I'm sorry, pardon me for missing my words. But that's who I am. And again, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to continue to deliver the services that I've always delivered throughout the city of Chicago. Right now, my responsibility is all 50 wards, all 50 aldermen. Most of you here know me. I've been your go-to guy. Tommy, I need this. Tommy, I need that. And I make it happen right away. I make it happen right away. That's been my history throughout my career. Delivering services, being responsive. I understand how important it is to get it done right away. And I look forward to having that same passion and opportunity in the first district vacancy, in that seat.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. You and I have worked together for more than 20 years, and I can
Yes.
certainly attest to your commitment to service. You walk the walk. You've also campaigned in just about every ward and district number here, keeping district numbers straight with all the ones you worked on. Easy to understand. So,
Yes.
Alderman Mitz.
Thank you. Tommy, I have to say that, you know, you've been a great leader, one that our younger adults can take some lessons from, going back long before you became the deputy commissioner in streets and sanitation. You have the ability to be able to communicate with the residents, and you don't talk the talk, you walk the walk, you get things done. So, you know, I'm just proud to see all of these candidates coming out of Austin. They let me know Austin is on the map.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Make no mistake about it. They may have looked over us, but will you be looking to run if you are not nominated for this position?
Yes,
You'll run anyway?
yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and certainly, Tommy, I know you from years ago. I often told former committeeman in 29 that he was the mailman. You were really the mailman. I'm asking each candidate, what ward do you live in?
29.
And do you have the support of your committeeman?
I spoke with my committeeman, and he couldn't give it to me, no, at this time, no.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, Alderman Burnett?
Thank you, Tommy. So first of all, I'd be remiss if I did not, because I'm saying something about everybody else. I had to say Pastor Ackery is a great man. He does a great job. He's very good in the community. He do bring people together, and he can move people. So I just got to get that out of the way before I say something good about you, too. Okay. I want all his people out there saying he said something good about everybody except our pastor. But anyway. So Tommy, first of all, I want to thank you for all of the service that you give me in my ward, right?
Yes.
And you and I came up the same way. You're a worker, right? You drive, you move, you make things happen, and you've been committed to service for a long time. You've been in the trenches, and you came up the right way in this business. So I commend you for that. So Tommy, I wanted to ask you. So they asked if you weren't elected, would you support the candidate? You said you would run anyway. So we got that. As you know, and I know you organized and worked on many campaigns, right, for many people. Matter of fact, I think you even worked on my first campaign when I first ran. So, so it's going to cost it's over 200-some thousand people. It's about 5 wards or more in the district. You know, it's going to cost. How much do you think it's going to cost, and how much do you think you can raise to run?
I think in the neighborhood of 125,000.
That's how much it costs to run in one ward.
Alderman Taliaferro.
Thank you, Chairman. Tommy, thank you so much for the service that you have. And when you say you're always on time, you're quicker than on time. And Committee Person Mitz, I want to even say to narrow these candidates, these great candidates that are coming before us. Many of them are from the West Side. And I will say they're all great candidates. But 4 of 6 have lived or either are from the 29th Ward. And so we got some great candidates coming out the 29th Ward. And I want to say this, Tommy, I do support you. I am your committeeman.
Thank you.
And you have shown nothing but support for me
Thank
in
you.
the toughest of races that I've had.
Thank you.
And so I do support you.
Thank you.
But I also want to say, I'm asking this question of all candidates. What are the 2 most important issues that you see that we're facing in the county, and how would you go about addressing those issues?
I see public safety and public health. And I think with public safety, we need to do education. We need to provide opportunities and things for the young people in the community. I remember as I grew up how I was able to avoid a lot of the pitfalls. There were organized sports that I participated in, and I got to know the kids on the other side of the track because we all came together to participate in sports programs. And I think that's something that's missing. I think we have to get the kids away from the video games and away from the mobile devices and get them engaged, involved in some physical activity where they come together and get to know each other. That'll pretty much give them something different to strive for other than the crime. Public health is a challenge. I think we need to work on getting facilities open and information out to people to be tested, being proactive in addressing the health challenges throughout the community, reaching out through emails and just having group meetings and different community meetings, getting people the information and the knowledge so that they know, even young people, like prostate testing and these different things. We need to be focusing on that and getting people that knowledge and information more and more so that they understand. Those are 2 of the biggest things that I see that is a challenge: public health, public safety. Yes, sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also want to thank you for your long-time service. Sometimes we were on opposite ends of the spectrum. Sometimes we were walking together, but nonetheless, you've always been a gentleman about everything that you've done and the service you give to the residents, not only the 28th Ward, but to the city of Chicago in general. One question I do have, and the same thing I've asked of others, is the balance of needs between the city of Chicago residents and the residents of suburban Cook County. How would you go about and tackle that? And do we understand the differences between the needs of the city versus the needs of the suburbs?
I would collaborate with the suburban officials and meet and discuss the needs, and then we'll come together on how to provide those needs, and the different things that are challenged. I have some family that lives in the suburbs in some of the district, but again, I would work with the leadership in these areas, seeking direction on how we can best provide the needed services to the residents of those communities.
Other questions? Mr. Johnson, thank you for being here with us this evening. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Our next applicant is Zerlina Smith Members. Ms. Smith Members, welcome to the committee. If you can join us at the table. We'd invite you to make some opening remarks for 3 to 5 minutes, and then there'll be questions from the committee. So let me reset my clock here. And please proceed.
Hello, everyone. I'm Zerlina Smith, members. My opening remarks is I'm here to serve you. I don't want to take up any more time. I'm going to answer your questions and do what I do best and represent my community.
You get the award for the shortest opening statement. Don't underestimate the value of that.
Okay.
Questions, Clerk Yarborough.
Thank you. Thank you for appearing. I appreciate it. I'm asking the same questions that I've asked everyone else. What ward do you live in?
I live in the 29th Ward.
And do you have the support of your committeeman?
I don't know. Do I have the support of my committeeman, Mr. Talaferro? He's smiling, so I don't know if that's a yes or a no.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Alderman Taliaferro.
I can answer that. I can't tell you how much Zerlina has meant to the 29th Ward, and not just the 29th Ward, but the west side of Chicago. She's been there for me just like Tommy Johnson, and continues to support me. And for that, I'm forever grateful. And with that, Zerlina, you always had my support, except when we ran against one another.
But then you called me and asked me not to, and I stuck to it.
She has become a friend, and you will always have my support, and I support you in your endeavors here as well. And so with that, I am asking each candidate what do you think the two most important issues facing the county is or are? And what would you do to address those two important issues?
Ooh, I like that. Okay. Do I answer or wait for Jason?
No, no.
Oh, okay. Well, we all know safety, right, is one of our biggest concerns. We can't just talk about crime if we don't talk about all of the things that are going on, not just in the city, but that are trickling over to the suburban areas. Healthcare is a part of safety, but as the first district Cook County Commissioner, let me tell you, I'm going to be tough on crime. I'm going to make sure that we look at that $8.8 billion budget and make sure that we can allocate more resources to the Cook County Sheriff's Department. Make sure we can allocate resources to the state's Attorney's Department. Make sure that we can allocate those resources to the Chief Judge Office. When you look at crime, we have a crime rate right now that's out of control and spiraling everywhere. I live in Austin, but I shop in Oak Park. When they had a shooting in Oak Park the other day on Madison, we were walking back. Okay, so when you think about crime, we want to make sure that we open up satellite offices like Alderman Mitz did in the 37th Ward with the Cook County Sheriffs to assist our police officers because we know they're understaffed. We have 588% of people out on EMT. We know that that department is understaffed because I was the former union rep for those members over at the Cook County Jail. We know that our officers are understaffed. We need to reallocate some of that federal relief $1 billion funds into hiring more people and getting these services met to the needs of the individuals that live in our district, not just our wards in our city. Healthcare, mental health, putting mental health services into schools, meeting the parents, the family, and the children where they're at, putting it in spaces that are already utilized and making sure that the services are there when they're needed most, elementary and high school.
Alderman Urban?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and also thank you for your service, Ms. Smith. This question that I've asked all of the members is it's about the balance of interest between the city residents and the suburban residents. This district is almost 50-50, but the needs are vastly different. And how would you approach that situation?
I'm hands on ground, I'm boots on the ground. I will make sure that we put satellite offices in everywhere that sits here that's represented by the first district. I will make sure that we work hand in hand by organizing that community, working with your ward nights, your district nights, by educating everyone. So when you look at the vast just multicultural of the first district, you have to look at what it needs. It needs someone who does not mind coming and going anywhere at any times and letting people know and assisting and having your constituents, which will hopefully be mine soon, know that we have budgets and we need to work together. We have 38% crime up with our new mayor. And he said in the last public statement that we need to work together. Everybody needs to come out and do something. So by doing that, we use the county budget to make sure that we put boots on the grounds, officers, hire people, get these positions filled, and make sure that the criminals that are being depopulate the jail, that are returning back to our communities, have someone that's actually doing their job and monitoring them and keeping up with them.
Alderman Metz.
Thank you. Zerlina, I've known you for a great while, and you've been very active. You've ran for several positions, I know. You never give up. You one that's gonna stay out here until somebody gonna either give you something or you're gonna get it one way or the other, because you're not gonna quit. What I wanted to know from you this time, though, if you're not slated, are you going to run anyway?
Yes,
In
I am gonna
2024.
run. Yes, I am gonna run for the seat.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Zelina. You, yourself and Reverend Ackery, you all are everywhere. I mean, it's like everywhere you go, you guys are out doing something. So we appreciate you all's advocacy for the community. And also, I admire the fact that you got a team, because your husband came to see me for you. You know, it's which is very unique.
Gotta send my better half.
Yeah, I see that. That's good. You know, that's half the battle right there.
There
is
you
having
go.
your mate with you. So we blessed to have ours. I wanted to ask, so, you know, this is a large district. It's like 5, maybe 6 wards in the county commissioner district. It goes from the city to the city to the suburbs. Very diverse. And it's going to cost some money. Can you tell us how much do you think it will cost to run, and how much do you think you can raise?
Right now, I have $156,000 on hand, and I'm continuing to build the momentum of me running for this seat by kicking my campaign off after tonight to run for this seat. So I plan on raising no less than $350,000 with the 150, so I can be able to sustain and have a field team and organize with my own money for the other races that are coming up that I have an interest in, which is the Cook County State's Attorney. I'm not gonna run for State's Attorney, but I'm gonna support one. That's what I mean. I'm gonna support one because crime is out of control. Let me just say this. When you walk outside your door or get out your car and get ready to walk into your house, there's no reason you, with your children, should be dodging gunshots. I experienced this the other night with my 14-year-old daughter and her 14-year-old friend who lives in Orland Park. This boy has lived in the suburbs his whole life and has never been to the west side of Chicago. And as we were getting out our car at 11:15, coming from the movie theater, another car pulls up, because if don't nobody know, I'll tell you. I live 5300 West Quincy, and I'm proud to live there and raise my daughter. But when I get out my car and I'm pushing my child onto a porch because you got other babies jumping out of cars with Army munitions, you know it's out of control. When you call the police and they show up the next day and you got 20 shells laying on the ground on the street of your house, and you got a baby who's never been to the west side calling his mother, who was supposed to spend the summer with my daughter, to work with Gone Again Travel Youth, who said he don't need the money. He don't want no parts of the west side. He's gone. But can you imagine kids hollering, people walking down the street trying to enjoy themselves for Memorial Day weekend, and gunshots right at your doorstep? If we don't get this criminal justice system in order, not in a city, as a state, I'm gonna make sure, I don't care who you support for the state's attorney, the chief judge, but they're gonna know that Zerlina Smith is gonna make sure she's monitoring and giving them the necessities and the tools and the funding that they need to make sure if you commit a crime, you do the time.
Well, you also get the award for the most powerful closing, so thank you very much. We appreciate your time. Our next to last applicant is Tara Stamps. You're going to have to do that all over again. Ladies and gentlemen, Tara Stamps. Ms. Stamps? Ms. Stamps, if you could join us at the table. We see you've brought some friends, always a good thing. So we'd invite you to spend 3 to 5 minutes with an opening statement, presenting your credentials, and then we'll turn it to the committee for questions. So welcome to the committee.
Okay, well, really, no, this is amazing to see this kind of community outpouring and interest in this position. So I'm really excited about the turnout. But okay, so I am a mother, a believer, a daughter, a sister, a friend, an activist, an organizer, a teacher, and a servant leader. And spending 25 years in Chicago public school classrooms have provided me with so much inspiration and foundation. But even before that foundation, I'm the daughter of the late Marion Stamps, who made a way for me. She made an incredible way for me. My mom was on the front line of housing rights and welfare rights and tenant rights when we were not even having those conversations. And so my earliest memories are on being on picket lines, talking about the Chicago 21 plan, how the new development of the city of Chicago was going to impact black communities and poor communities, what it will mean when we level public housing in the city of Chicago. And as you very well know, this created the crisis in housing that we're experiencing right now. So I pay homage and respect for the way, the path that my mom made for me. And as a classroom teacher, I've tried to make sure that I've extended that path to young men and women in inner city schools, mostly on the west side and in the Cabrini Green area at Jenner, where I was the mentor to our mayor, his mentor teacher. So now we have someone who's working this out who needed help with lesson plans, but that's okay. What else would you, that's it, okay.
Well, thank you very much. Questions from the committee? Clerk Yarborough.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for providing some volume. I like volume. I like to hear what people are saying. I'm asking the same question of all the candidates. What ward are you in?
37th.
And do you have the support of you got a lot of folks here. Do you have the support of your committeeman?
I'm honored to say that I do.
Okay.
I am honored to say that I do.
Okay. All right, Emma. That's it for me.
Well, thank you. It is time, as I spoke with you, Tyra,
Yes, ma'am.
we talked about healing, time for us to work for our communities, coming together. Those are the things that we have spoken on, and that's what I'm looking from you. Are you still willing to work together so that we can help our community generations coming behind us? I also mentioned that there's enough of a pie that everybody can get a piece of. So are you still interested in?
First of all, thank you so much,
Thank
Alderman,
you.
not only for your support,
Thank you.
but for that question. And anyone who knows me knows that I have a philosophy. And that philosophy is there is enough for everybody to get what they need and some of what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe in working together, we can make that a reality for so many people who have been disillusioned and lost hope in our community. And I think there is nothing more profound and more powerful than seeing the unity amongst black women, seeing us push an agenda that forwards us, making sure that our schools are in shape and that our streets are safe and that people have a place to turn when they need resources. And more than anything, our community, our neighbors, our constituents want to see solidarity. And so I come out of a spirit of solidarity. I come out of the history of grassroots work. And so being a member of the Chicago Teachers Union, I understand that solidarity is our only superpower. The things that we need to get done, we must do them together. So I am honored to be in lockstep with you to create a better, stronger, safer West Side
Right
and,
on. Thank you.
and First District.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Ms. Stamps. Been knowing you all your life, right? So although you live in the 37 ward, you from the 27 ward. So.
Originally the 42nd, if we want to go down that
All
road.
right, well, way back in the day.
Back in the day.
That's right. Also, I had the pleasure of working with your mom. Matter of fact, her and I both ran for this spot.
That's the last time you had a viable candidate. That's the last time you had a good race.
And we both, she was a very worthy opponent. We got to know each other very well back then. Matter of fact, a lot of things that's happening for me right now, your mom actually predicted.
She was a formidable woman.
She predicted that they were going to happen. So, we appreciate everything that you've done in working with the young people in our community, how you motivate and move young people to do the right things, and you get to them where they are, no matter where they come from. We admire that and appreciate that. I wanted to ask you the same questions that I asked other folks. One, if you are not appointed to the spot, will you run anyway?
I absolutely am going to run because I think I am uniquely qualified to continue the progressive measures that our mayor, Brandon Johnson, made viable and visible in this seat. He was so invested and involved both on the West Side and in Proviso, and I welcome the opportunity to continue that work.
Okay. Then also, the district is about, and I know you've ran for alderman before, the district is about 5 or 6 wards. How much do you think it would take to run, and how much could you raise?
So, thank you for asking that question. Listen, the amount of money that it takes to run a competitive race in the city of Chicago is astronomical, to be honest. But fortunately, I am a part of the infrastructure that delivered a mayor, that has delivered a congresswoman, that has delivered a slew of aldermen. And so I am happy to call on the support of the mayor and labor so that we have a competitive race. I know that when I ran before, it was nearly $250,000, and I am confident that I will be able to surpass that should I be chosen to run. Should I have to run?
So you're saying that you will have the union support and also the mayor support?
Absolutely, unequivocally.
Thank you.
Alderman Taliaferro.
Thank you, Chairman. Tara, it's good to see you present yourself today.
It's good to see you as well.
You and I go back to 2014, and
We do.
One thing I've always said about you, you come with fire, like real fire. So thank you for presenting yourself before the committee today. I'm asking the same question of each candidate. What do you believe to be 2 of the most important issues facing the county? And how would you, and very briefly, describe how you would address those issues?
Thank you. That's thought-provoking. Fortunately, I've given it some attention. Some of the issues facing the county in one area may not look the same in the other area, but they're the same problem. So safety is an issue no matter where you go in the county. And we have to begin to look at what safety and what public safety really is. I remember coming up as a young person in Cabrini on the near north side, and when we would have conversations about feeling safe, they never began or end with policing. It began with the programs and your parents and your schools and what was available for young people. Did you have a CETA job, right? So I think, quite honestly, some of the same things that were effective then, we need to go back and revisit and reinvest in our young people in a way that's measurable and tangible and smart. Housing is also a critical issue no matter where you look. It may look different on the west side But I know people that live in Oak Park. I know people that live in Broadview. I know people that live in Bellwood. I know people that live in Maywood. And housing is an issue no matter where you go. People are being priced out. Elders are being taken advantage of. There are people coming into our communities really misinforming our elderly population. And that's another issue that we share, right, in this district. We have an aging population, both in Austin, both in the West Side, and in the Proviso Township. So we have to figure out ways to house our people who are young upstarts. We got to figure out a way to protect our elders, and we got to be economical, and it has to be affordable. We have to address the issue of affordable housing in a way that makes sense and not just giving talking points, but really true investment of working class people can afford to live in this district.
Alderman Irvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a similar question I've asked all of the people that have come before us, and it's about the balancing of interest between the city of Chicago residents and the residents of the suburban area. This district is almost evenly split between the two, but our needs are vastly different, and I want to know how you would address those issues.
You know, the more, like the adage say, the more things change, the more things stay the same, and if you keep looking, you circling around, you realize we have more in common than we have differences. But actually, in just my regular life, I think I'm balancing that relationship, right? I'm a resident of the 37th Ward, and I've done tons of mutual aid during COVID. I've done tons of volunteer work, either at New Moms and other shelters in our community. I'm deeply committed to our seniors and making sure that they get taken care of and that they're provided for. And by the same token, I do tons of volunteer work in Proviso. I spoke at the 19th Century Club here in Oak Park. My sons went to OPRF. I was a very active mom and parent, right? I've done tons of volunteer work in Oak Park, whether it was Juneteenth or Kwanzaa, Uniquely You. I've participated, and I'm at the call of many of the stakeholders in Proviso and welcome that opportunity. A lot of the work that I did for Governor Pritzker and some of the local elections took place a great deal in the Proviso Township. So in my natural walk of life, which is why I'm really excited about this opportunity, because it seems to be in alignment to what I've been doing anyway, which is kind of living in both of those spaces for which there are people who are in dire need. And more than anything, people need an advocate. People need somebody who's prepared to listen to them and invest in them, and not just giving talking points and not just giving lip service, but someone who really is in their heart a servant leader. And so that's the framework that I'm built on. That's the history that I come out of. And so I think that I'm already adjusting myself and adjusting my political analysis to balance myself between those plural spaces.
Ms. Stamps, let me ask one question building off Alderman Irvin's question. As one of the two members of the committee that represents the suburban portions of the district, about 50% of the district, in one of your recent city elections, I know you had called for certain city taxes on suburbanites, a commuter tax, a city income tax. Would it be fair for me to believe, as you move into representing a district that is half suburban, half city, that you might be willing to move past those policy proposals?
That is such a very specific question, and I'm really curious as to the genesis of that, howsoever. This is the thing. We say things and we're quoted by things and people want to penalize us or keep us in this space. But as your political analysis grow, as you grow as an individual, as you grow as a person, so must your political outlook. So I am open to the conversations that must be necessary where we look at a tax base that is equitable and fair. Where we could talk about economic development and what that looks like for blighted communities like mine, what that looks like for a neighborhood like Bellwood, where the downtown of Bellwood needs serious investment. So there's a learning curve here that must occur, and I'm a teacher and student, right? So I am prepared to adjust to the learning curve and be a full participant on the seat and really analyze and look at what is going to be in the best interest of our constituents.
Wonderful answer. You and I have worked. And I asked that you and I have worked together on issues of tax fairness, and I didn't want, for those of us who represent the suburban portions of the district, we don't want to have to explain old politics, old campaign rhetoric in the new day. So thank you for clarifying that very much.
That is, and listen, I welcome that conversation. I think one of the best characteristics that we can have for a candidate coming into this space is to be open to all the dialogues and open to all the perspectives so that we can shape a perspective that's unique to the situation for what calls for the situation today in present times. And as the Alderman said before, there is so much, there's enough for all of us. And I adamantly and completely believe that solidarity, we can have a true superpower, and that at the bottom line, we want to make sure that people get served, right? We want to have an agenda that forwards and improves the quality of life for people, that we have a responsibility to leave this planet better than we found it, and as legislators, and we get that opportunity in real time.
A great closing if there are no more questions. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate you. And our last applicant for the evening is Claiborne Wade. Mr. Wade, welcome. Glad everybody brought their own cheering section, so. Mr. Wade, welcome to the committee. We are glad to have you. We'd invite you to open up with 3 to 5 minutes in an opening statement, and then we'll have questions from the committee.
Absolutely, but this mic is similar for someone who's tall. Can I?
You can fix that.
I can fix. Oh, I can take it out. Can you take it out? Or just, yeah, please. Let's not be biased for short folks. All right. Right. Well. Chairman, President Harmon, Vice Chair, Clerk Yarbrough, members of the Selection Committee, constituents of the 1st District of Cook County. My name is Claiborne Wade, and I want to be your Cook County Commissioner, the Commissioner of the 1st District. My heart is in the 1st District. I've lived in the 1st District all 33 years of my life. It is where I met my wife and where we are raising our 4 beautiful children. It is where I work. I've been working for State Farm, Larry Williams' office in the Austin community for almost 20 years now. I also serve as the Sustainable Community Schools Parent Liaison at Oscar DePriest Elementary School, to where it's my job to get parents actively involved at DePriest. In November, it'll be 2 years since my wife had the opportunity to purchase our first home. Providing opportunity for the residents of the 1st District is my priority. How do we ensure that our residents have the opportunity to purchase their first home? How do we make sure that the property taxes aren't increasing? How do we ensure that our parents have a seat at the table when it comes to educating our students? How do we ensure that our students have equitable funding so they can compete on the global market? How do we ensure that our families have a livable wage to the point to where they're able to sustain and take care of their family? That is why I want to be Commissioner of the 1st District. Thank you.
I have to say, now we're 6 for 6. I applaud the succinctness of all of the opening statements. Everyone followed the protocols very well. Questions? Clerk Yarbrough.
Okay, I don't think I have a question. So you've been in Forest Park for 2 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Where you been? How come you didn't come and see me? Or Claiborne, I've known you a long time.
Yes.
I mean, you served as with Deborah Graham when she was state rep, and of course, she and I served together. But I was pleasantly surprised to find out that you moved to Proviso Township. So I'll be looking for you to plug in. Okay? Okay. gonna send them to,
No,
okay.
well,
We
no.
need, no, we need your help.
Uh-huh.
We need your help. But I was, when you came before us, when we had our deliberations, and they told me that you were living in Forest Park, and I'm like, when, where, how, who? And he didn't call me. But anyway, I'm gonna charge it to your head, not your heart.
I appreciate that.
But I do look forward to you engaging and we engaging together.
I appreciate
Thank you.
that. But my mayor, who's actually stayed a few doors over from us, we're neighbors, and he was saying, you need to come in and join the organization.
did
So,
tell you
and Jackie
that.
too. So, we were working on it. So I have to,
Okay.
get it
I
together.
forgive
But I'm
you.
a member now. Did
Yes,
Jackie
you
tell
are.
you that? Okay.
No, yeah, I was
Yes.
going there, but,
Okay.
but you did. You cleaned it up because you joined. But now we need to see some leather, some shoe leather now. We
In proviso now, 'cause there's plenty of all over the
I
district.
know, but
Yeah.
I'm looking for you in proviso. Thank you.
Gotcha, clerk.
Any question, Walter?
Yeah, thank you. So I've always been impressed with you, and you're blessed, and so is your wife, that you all always look young, man. You guys, I always, every time I see you, I think of you as when I first met you, you're such a young guy and very active and always humble and working hard to help people. So we commend you for that. And we know one day, whether you get this or not, God's going to bless you with something.
Tonight, Alderman, tonight. This is going to happen tonight. Let's get it.
It's in your spirit. I feel it. But I want to ask you what I asked all of the other candidates. One, if you're not appointed, will you run anyway?
I am looking to get appointed tonight, Alderman.
Okay. All right. So, also, the district, is like 300-some thousand people. There's about 5 or 6 wards. How much do you think it'll take to run, and how much can you raise?
Right. So it's according to the census, it's 299, 128 residents of the county district of the Cook County first district. And the last election, when it was a serious race, that's when now Mayor Brandon Johnson, it was about 250,000. And I know that, with the special election, once I'm appointed, it's going to cost more. So look, folks are ready to write me a check, and I'm ready to receive them once I'm appointed tonight.
Alderman Talaferro.
Thank you, Chairman. Claiborne, thanks for presenting yourself before the committee today. And I just have to say once again that I'm very proud of the candidates that have presented themselves, and each of them brings a whole lot to the table, to include yourself. And I'm very honored to say 4 of the 6 have either lived in the 29th Ward or currently live in 29th Ward. And you have your roots in the 29th Ward and has done great work in the 29th Ward as well. So thank you for that. The question that I'm asking of each candidate tonight is, what are 2 very important issues to you that the county is facing? And what would you briefly let us know what would you do to address those 2 issues?
Good question, Alderman. So 2 issues that I think are very, very important that the county is facing, and it's 2 that I want to work on, and that is providing affordable housing to the residents, as well as ensuring that the property taxes aren't increasing. Not only that, mental health is extremely important. All those go hand in hand to ensure that a family can thrive. So it's like you can't do one without the other, or even pinpoint 2 very, very important issues. Because W-2s, making sure that our families, have job opportunities to sustain their families. So it's like if we don't have, those very important, I probably want to say maybe 4 or 5, if all those important issues aren't circling, there's no way that we could have a growing county, first district or even county.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is interesting. So you started working for the Larry Williams You say for 20 years, so
Yeah.
you were about 7 or 8 when
No,
you
no, no.
started working for the brother. I know you've been around for a minute, but you look young, and whatever you're doing, keep it up. But serious notes, we talk about the differences between the west side of Chicago and the western suburbs and the interest in the balancing of the needs of both ends of this district. How would you, number one, how would you work to do that? And second, what do you see the differences in those areas?
Well, I think building relationships, as I indicated, my roots are in the Austin community, but we just purchased our home in Forest Park, and I think that you get the 2-for-1 deal with me, and having the roots over in the city and then living in the suburbs, I'm able to represent the entire first district, and especially working with aldermen and clerk and pastors and like elected officials and most importantly the community. So I can't do any of this if I don't have the backing or even the wherewithal without the community. So listening to them, figuring out what it is that they want, and working together and building those relationships.
Other questions? Thank you for an impressive presentation. We appreciate
That's
you
right.
being here.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So do I stand here and raise my hand now? Or turn around.
So I hope that everyone in the audience understands the difficult decision that the committee had in even choosing the 6 candidates to interview. But certainly, I think the presentations we've heard tonight validate the choice of the committee to invite these 6 people to present their credentials. Yes, please, give them all a round of applause. So we're going to turn now to the portion of our agenda to entertain nominations to fill the vacancy. I want to make sure everyone understands we expect that all 6 of the applicants will be nominated for consideration. After the nominations have been closed, we will recess to executive session and debate the candidates among the committee members, and then we'll return here to the committee room in a short while to announce whether or not we have reached a decision. So I would ask if any of the members of the committee would like to speak in support of their nominations to let me know, but otherwise I will just begin to proceed by taking nominations. The first candidate, Reverend Ira Acree. Alderman Mitz.
I nominate Reverend Ira Acree for the position of the Cook County 1st District.
Seconded, Alderman Teleferro.
Thank you, Chairman. I second the motion of Committee Person Mitz, and say I am exceptionally excited about the service that he's had in the community over the last 35 years. And so I proudly second Alderman Mitz's recommendation.
The nomination of Ira Acree has been moved and seconded. Are there further nominations? Clerk Yarborough.
I nominate Rory Hoskins, Mayor Rory Hoskins, as for the appointment of the 1st District. Rory has served with distinction and honor. Known him for a number of years. I think he'll be a fine candidate and better commissioner in this vein.
Is there a second?
I second that nomination, Chairman.
The nomination of Rory Hoskins has been moved and seconded. The third applicant was Tommy Johnson. Is there a nomination?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I nominate Tommy Johnson for the position of 1st District Commissioner. Over the last numerous years, Tommy has been very instrumental in not only just keeping our community clean, but bringing our community together. So I nominate Tommy Johnson.
Is there a second?
I second the motion of Alderman Talaferro for Tommy Johnson.
The nomination of Tommy Johnson has been moved and seconded. Are there further nominations? Alderman Mitz?
I nominate Zerlina Smith Members for the position of the Cook County First District. Zerlina have been working very hard in the community for a long time, and I wouldn't be remiss to make sure that she at least have an opportunity to be at the table. So I nominate Zerlina Smith Members.
Is there a second?
I second the nomination of Zelina Smith Members, and want to reiterate a little what my colleague has said. She has been very instrumental on the West Side in bringing us together as a community as well. Very active, an organizer, and I think she would do well in this position. So I second the nomination.
It's been moved and seconded, the nomination of Zerlina Smith Members. The fifth applicant was Tara Stamps. Is there a nomination? Alderman Burnett.
Yes, as committeeman of the 27th Ward and Vice Mayor of the City of Chicago, I nominate Tara Stamps for Commissioner of the 1st District.
Is there a second?
Alderman of the 37th Ward. For many of you know that Tyra and I have been kind of on different sides, but she's not running against me, so. I do think it is time for healing and that we come together. And I'm supporting her because she's a member of the 37th Ward, and also because she is a hard worker and she does have a lot of support. There's opportunity, so the time is now, and I second that motion.
The nomination of Tara Stamps has been moved and seconded. Our last applicant, Claiborne Wade. Is there a nomination?
Yes, I nominate Claiborne Wade because he moved to Proviso Township, and I'm glad to know he's there.
Is there a second?
I second that nomination.
The nomination of Claiborne Wade has been moved and seconded. We now have 6 candidates before us. Is there a motion to close nomination?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we close nominations. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the nominations are closed. So with that, I know you all understand the difficult dilemma we have, and we're going to recess into executive session. We will return to this room at the end of that and share with you whether or not we have reached a conclusion.
kind of like, I'm thinking like a row like this a little bit. I know you all are going to block a little bit of.
catty corner or?
Well, no, I was thinking you could look directly at the committee since they're going to announce it. What do you guys think? You want to do it this way?
Whatever you think.
We're gonna block this side of the room.
Okay. Let's do kind of then a straight line this way a bit. I'll pull this back a bit so that it's a little more. Okay. Yeah. Stand along the wall right there. You like if they're not coming like right now. It's gonna be a couple minutes.
Oh, you just want to take.
I just wanted to get folks there. Yeah, you take pictures. I'll come in and wait here for you. Okay, roll over here, please. Thank you all. Great looking group of people. Did you put the thing up?
Oh, and they're still here? Come through here. No, no room around there. No room to go around that way.
Barely. All right, I would like to call back to order the First District County Board District Committee. We've returned from executive session. This has been an extraordinarily difficult decision based on the caliber and quality of the 6 candidates we invited back for an interview. You all presented very well. You made our decision all the harder. I'd like to ask for a round of applause for all 6 of the candidates. We have, however, reached a decision, and I counsel everyone that the appointee tonight begins an arduous task of beginning a re-election campaign almost immediately, and it's obvious that there are many candidates ready, willing, and able to run for that election, so you'll have your work cut out for you. I do want to emphasize again how difficult a decision this was. All 6 candidates had support in deliberations. In the first round, 5 of the 6 candidates received significant votes. It went several rounds before we reached a consensus, but we have come back unanimously and are pleased to announce that the next Cook County Board Commissioner for the 1st District is Tara Stamp. Congratulations. Congratulations. I often joke that in this process that seems to elevate the committee people to this very important place, what we really do in this process is make 1 friend and 19 enemies. And it is a very difficult thing to do. So what I would ask all the supporters of all the candidates and of all the candidates is to begin the healing and try to rally around and do the right thing for the people of the 1st District, because that, in the end, is what we all need to do. So congratulations to all 6 of you. Congratulations to our new County Board Commissioner. We have some paperwork to do, and we'd love to swear you in.